Hello, my name is Helen Cummins from Mallorca Living, a video podcast dedicated to those who want to make Mallorca their home. Today, I'm very excited to talk to Max Patté. Max is from the UK originally. He spent 17 years living in New Zealand. He is a world-renowned artist, collected by many wealthy individuals all around the world. Himself and his wife moved to Mallorca in June 2022, and he's going to tell us about establishing his life here, getting his two young kids settled into Montessori school, finding and buying a home on the internet, literally without seeing the house or the village that they now call home, and also trying to overcome all the challenges that go with the bureaucracy of buying a home and establishing a business on the island. He's going to tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly, but it'll be great to know all of these things if you too are planning to make Mallorca your home in the future. Let's dive in. Max, you're very welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah. Sorry Amy couldn't be with us.
No, I'm sorry.
Today.
She's at summer school play. So.
Summer school play. Well, some things take priority, right?
Exactly, yeah.
But anyway, great that you could be here. Yes. So I actually first connected with Amy, your Irish wife, exactly. So a fellow countrywoman. She got in contact with me, I think back in like 2021.
Yes, that'd be right, yeah.
With looking for some connections here to the art scene.
Okay.
As you were planning to make a move from New Zealand to Mallorca.
Yeah, well that was the biggest thing for me, I guess. And especially for Amy to try and make those connections, because I had a long-standing studio and art practice in New Zealand. So trying to transfer that to little old Mallorca was probably our biggest concern. So Amy was doing her due diligence to see what the art scene was like here, which is why she contacted you. Yeah.
And she wanted at that moment just a connection to Gallery Red.
Exactly, yeah, which she hadn't told me about.
Okay.
I discovered that on my own whilst actually reading through your page, and you did a little sort of synopsis on Alaro, which I was reading.
Yeah.
And I saw the hyperlink to the article you did with Drew Aaron, the owner and director of Gallery Red. And I clicked on that, and I said to Amy, I remember she was sitting next to me on the sofa, I was like, oh, hey, look, this guy's an American. He's a big collector, he runs a gallery in Palma, Mallorca. Helen's done this interview with him, so I read it. And I actually sent him an email after I read the interview. And 24 hours later, we were having a Zoom call, and and then very quickly representation happened.
Yeah. So yes, you ended up signing an exclusive contract with them for Spain, and they've been representing you since you got here.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, which was kind of like the final little cherry on the cake, really, because obviously, that was a big concern for me of how am I going to show my work here? How's my practice and my business and therefore life going to operate?
Yes.
So it was great to kind of have that connection. That was like the final.
Brilliant.
That's the final thing.
So we've kind of started at the end, and I want to go back right to the beginning because I've been reading some articles about you, and you have a nice page on Wikipedia and so on.
Oh, I do.
Where did the art, your passion and talent for art? Because I read your father was more in business, your mother's a teacher.
Yeah.
So where did your passion for art
they were both. My mother in particular was very creative. She taught art as well.
Art.
I mean, she still draws and paints every single day of her life, pretty much.
Amazing.
Which is great for the kids when they get birthday cards because they're always usually handmade.
Nice.
And my dad, in his own way, is also quite creative. So I was kind of surrounded by that. I spent my weekends at home in Gloucestershire in the garage with my dad, building things and taking engines apart. So using my hands was always, it was always there. It was inherent from an early age. I went to art school in London, in Wimbledon, not really knowing where that was going to take me. I'd kind of always imagined myself as a painter, but then I sort of fell by chance really into the film industry.
Right.
So I worked for Warner Brothers for 10 years, mostly in the UK and around the world.
And was that a dream of yours to work
No,
on?
not at all, no. Because I mean, I grew up in the middle of the country in Gloucestershire, so I actually rarely went to the cinema. I think probably the first time I went to the cinema on my own was when I could drive, so 17. So it was never on my radar at all. And then all of a sudden, being in London, studying art, technical arts, I was surrounded by other people who kind of had this tunnel vision that they were going to work in that creative industry, be it television, theatre or film. So I just sort of followed suit, really. And
you did switch during your,
I did,
during your art, while you were studying.
Yeah, that's
so were
right.
you doing more conventional art, painting?
Well, I wanted to. I went to Wimbledon because it got this amazing representation. It got an amazing reputation for traditional-based sculpture, so figurative stuff, stone carving and bronze founding. But after my first, I guess it was my first term there, really, I realised that the tutors were almost totally absent and you were left to your own devices. The bronze foundry was off limits and there wasn't really much in the way of learning from your peers. It was just you do what you want and we will assess you at the end of the year, which definitely wasn't what I wanted. I wanted some direction. I wanted to be taught the academic techniques. So I switched course. I did a technical arts course, which was much more about learning anatomy, photorealistic sculpting, that kind of thing, which later kind of led to experiences with Madame Tussauds and was a great help in the film industry as well.
Yeah. So that was really a stepping stone to the film world, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I wouldn't have ever gone down that route had it not been for that almost by chance change of course in my first year at art school, yeah.
So it wasn't really your dream, but how did it turn out as an experience?
It was incredible, really. I kind of viewed the whole move, I was quite relaxed about it because it wasn't this sort of dream as a kid that I had to work for the film industry. I was quite open to everything and I thought, well, this is almost like an apprenticeship. It means I can continue my creative journey and I can get paid at the same time.
And was somebody directing you, okay, you know, we need this, we need that, and giving you specifics, or were you kind of given some freedom of creating?
Later on, as my sort of experience grew and I had more experience, more years under my belt, you were given more creative freedom to imagine characters in a film and imagine designs. But early on it was more, here's the design that you're given by one of the art department. You need to now translate that into sculptural terms, or you need to make it work in reality as a costume or a suit or a creature.
So what was the most incredible experience you had while you were working in the film industry? Because you worked on pretty important movies. I mean,
there were so many. If I take away the best thing about that whole experience, it would have been the people that I worked with, I think. Especially in London, with the British sense of humour, you're just always having a great laugh, mucking around. It was very unlike a job, really. You just kind of went and hung out with your friends.
And you were doing something you're passionate.
It was incredible. And then you were kind of, I'm working on Harry Potter, and like we go to the canteen through Hogwarts dining room castle, or working on Batman Begins, and you're working like this with the director and. Yeah,
so you met all the film or all the actors and all of that.
And even more so, I think, in New Zealand because it's smaller. They would come into the studio more often, and then on set at the weekends they'd be hanging out in the same restaurants and bars, and so that was
great. And you did Lord of the Rings. No, it was a big.
I was still at art school during Lord of the Rings, but then I followed up on the trilogy for The Hobbit, amongst lots of other films that I did in New Zealand, but. Yeah.
Super. So that's amazing. Great start.
Yeah.
So I want to know, what made you move from England to New Zealand? What was your connection? Why New Zealand?
I didn't have any because it was about the furthest point on the map away from London, and I really needed to get out of London.
Okay.
I'd been in the film industry there for I think 10 years, in the traffic for 3 hours a day. It was working 11 hours a day, getting up at 5:30, coming home at 8:30. I just needed a change. I needed to get out and do something different. And I wanted to travel. I traveled a lot with film, but I wanted to go somewhere that was actually quite easy, where I could work. I didn't just want a backpacking experience. I wanted to go somewhere where I could get a job, have a bank account, and actually live. And the best place for me was New Zealand because of Lord of the Rings and Peter Jackson's film industry there and what he'd built. And of course, I was able to make quite easy connections because people in London who I'd worked with had got experience in New Zealand as well, so we just joined the dots.
Okay, so they film this cluster of, let's say, from...
Yeah, it's a small world and everybody kind of knows everybody, so within a couple of emails I got my interview set up for when I arrived in New Zealand. And,
so you weren't called by Hollywood to LA or something?
No, definitely not. No, I think that's a whole other world which it doesn't really interest me so much. But,
no, so you were very much happy to go more in nature and
I lived 10 minutes from the studio, so I was driving around the south coast to work every morning. No speed bumps, no traffic lights, no traffic jams. It was magical.
How many years did you spend in New Zealand?
17 in total.
17 years?
17.
Wow, I didn't realise it was so long.
I think I'm actually just at the point now where I've lived more of my life outside of the UK than I have in the UK.
Okay. So you met your wife, Amy, in New Zealand, right?
Yeah.
So what was she doing in New Zealand from Ireland?
She needed to get out of Ireland. She was sick of the weather. She went to Boston to start with, and then the World Trade Centers came down, so she needed to get out because she was there illegally. So then I think she went back to Ireland, and then she moved to New Zealand. Oh, she moved to Bondi first in Australia.
Bondi Beach.
Then to New Zealand.
And
then
Australia.
many years later, she met me.
Okay.
Yeah,
and then you built your life together.
Yeah, we did.
And you're a good team because if I understand right, she takes care of more the whole administration, business side of things.
She does, she takes care of all of that.
It frees your time, right, to be more focused.
But she's also an amazing soundboard for me, sort of creatively as well. And that was probably the thing that drew me most to Amy, was her amazing ability to talk and understand and just make that kind of personal connection on that level. Okay. I really felt that there was just endless conversation with Amy, always.
Brilliant.
And
super.
Still the case.
Yeah. And now I always feel with both of you when I meet you, I haven't met you that many times, but when I do meet you, it seems like you have a very strong partnership. It's a very... each person plays their role, which is really important.
Yeah, exactly,
Which is great. Yeah. So you spent 17 years in New Zealand. What made you decide to move to Mallorca?
Well, I don't know. I guess it was, I do know, it was always a dream of mine because we used to holiday so much in the Mediterranean as kids. I really honestly felt that if you believe in past lives, I felt like something was in me in the Mediterranean. From a very early age, I felt very at home here. So it had always kind of been my dream to live here by the time I was 40, which I missed, but never mind. Better late than never. We tried Ibiza for quite a few years.
Going there on holidays, was it?
No, actually with the mind to move there, almost immediately. When Bo was born in 2016, we took, I think, 3 or 4 months off, moved from New Zealand, rented a place in Ibiza, looked there for a long time, and then on and off for, I guess it was about 4 years, we were sort of trying to buy various properties and, came to
Ibiza.
Yeah, lots of pitfalls, and then COVID happened. And just as those announcements were made, kind of internationally on the news, I was about to get on a plane first to China, where I was doing some work, and then I was going to Ibiza again to look at a piece of land that had come up that we were interested in. And COVID happened and obviously put an end to everything.
So you were in New Zealand?
I was still in New Zealand for that bit. Wow. And then we were locked down in New Zealand for 3 years. So we hadn't seen our families because all of Amy's family are still in Cork. All of my family are still in the UK. So we were completely shut, and we just had Bo, who's now 9, but we couldn't get out. So as soon as the restrictions were lifted, sort of nearly 3 years later, Amy said to me, we've got to get out. Both our parents are getting respectively older. We've got 2 kids now. We need to move closer to them. So we knew pretty much that we didn't want to move to Cork with the sideways rain. And we
Cork
didn't want
is beautiful.
It is beautiful.
But
it is beautiful, but
it's a bit challenging.
It's not really the same as this. So we kind of very briefly revisited the idea of going back to Ibiza.
And did you know Mallorca at this point?
No, Amy did. Amy used to holiday here a lot as a kid, almost every year. I'd only been, I think, maybe once or twice with Amy. So I didn't really know it at all.
And the islands are so different, right?
They are so different. And actually, during those months that we were in Ibiza looking, we said maybe we should go to Mallorca and just make sure that Mallorca isn't the right place. And I think that first time, within about 20 minutes of leaving the airport, we decided, no, it has to be Ibiza. I think that was probably late October, November. So we didn't see the place at its best, perhaps. But anyway, when cut to 2021, when we thought, well, where are we going to move to away from New Zealand? Very quickly decided, no, Ibiza is definitely not for us. As soon as we switched focus and said, well, let's try Mallorca, it's almost like everything aligned perfectly and just things just started to happen one after another. And it kind of just opened itself up to us, and everything happened very quickly and
I do
easily.
think as well, Mallorca is very attractive for families, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as an artist, I think Ibiza is an amazing place because you do find, you will find a tribe there because the creativity, the spirituality, I mean, it's very, very, very potent there.
Right,
Whereas I think Mallorca, from a more practical perspective of raising a young family and
we're very glad. I think that we've ended up here and not in Ibiza because for those reasons. You know, I'm not going to say we had our pick of schools to go to, because obviously there's a lot of waiting lists for the international schools, and that was a challenge actually. But there's more to pick from. There's a bigger pool. There are more people here. The flights are easier. They're year round to the UK. So all in all, things just kind of fell into place a lot easier as soon as we'd switched focus. Yeah.
So tell me, you're living in Alaro, right? Yes, you chose Alaro as your base.
We just stuck a pin in the map, pretty much.
And why Alaro?
It was me that saw something online on one of the sort of architectural pages about a house that had just been renovated in Alaro. It's not the house that we live in, but it was an amazing house. It was quite unusual. I showed Amy and I said, check out this amazing house, firstly. And I said, where's this on the island? So she, being the administration, she did all the research. She said, this sounds like a really cool little village. And we literally stuck a pin in the map. And then we ended up buying a house on WhatsApp. Literally, yeah, well, we couldn't get out. We couldn't visit it. So we literally bought the house via WhatsApp video and went, okay, that looks like a nice little townhouse. Everything's been done. We don't need to worry about doing any renovations. All the paperwork's there, which is a huge thing. We knew everything was legal and it was all up together. So we said,
so you bought it without ever seeing it?
Yeah, and then, we bought it without even ever being to Alaró. I think this was my third time to Mallorca.
That is a leap of faith if I ever heard it.
Yeah. But you know what, when we left New Zealand with all of our worldly goods packed in 4 shipping containers, we first went back to the UK. We left the kids with my parents, and Amy and I came to Alaró to look at the house, go and buy some beds first and try and get things set up and bring the kids 3 days later. And we drove up the main road into Alaró and we just instantly felt comfortable and at home and very kind of relaxed and loved it.
I love Alaró. I think it's so funny because I've lived 26 years on the island and the center of the island for so many years, nobody wanted to know about it. You could buy things so cheap and it wasn't like trendy. You'd never hear really of foreign people going and buying in the center. Everybody wanted to be at the coast.
Yeah, exactly, for good reason.
That changed so much in the last 6-7 years where people are much more, like Alaro is at the foot of the Tramuntana mountains. Right, so you have this beautiful mountain range behind you. And they say energetically there's a lot of, it's very...
Yeah, exactly. Almost like the 2 pyramids.
Yeah.
Funnily, we had, we've recently bought some land up in Orient. So right in the Tramuntana mountains. Oh, wow. We had the guy come around with his beads looking for water. Yeah. And he was telling me all about the magnetic energy of the mountains being similar to the pyramids in Egypt. And it's all supposedly.
Now they say it's maybe the most powerful place on the energetically on the island.
Well, maybe that's what drew me to it without knowing.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? And I think, you know, Deia was always known on the island as kind of the artist hub. You know, the artists flock to Deia. But in actual fact, this is kind of changing, and I hear of much more artists being drawn to that part of the island. I don't know.
We know lots of artists, and last weekend they just had the Alaro Art Festival where they have all these sort of little pop-up events happening, which was amazing. So it definitely has that community. We've got a couple of galleries there now. It's lovely.
Yeah. So it is. Nice, so you do feel you meet other people who are in the creative world.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, I think I hope this doesn't change too much. So maybe we shouldn't talk about Alaró. But there's a really nice level of mixing between local Spanish, local Mallorquin, and various international people. Yeah. There's a nice balance. Everybody's very welcoming and work well together. Yeah.
And it's a very pretty village, because you do have other villages around Alaró, and people often ask me, why does Alaró command such a high price compared to, let's say, some of the other pretty villages around? But it just seems to be very sought after. It's literally a place. It's a place where people want to live, right?
It does have such a strong small community. Everything's very accessible. It's where I probably wouldn't have chosen to live in a town if I'd had my choice. That was more of a family decision. And Amy, being from Cork and where she grew up, she lived more in a village. But now I'm so happy that we can just open our front door. We can send the kids down knowing that they'll be perfectly safe on the road to go to the gelato shop or to the cafe or meet their friends or go to the park. And they're only 9 and 6. So there's a lovely community feel there. There is always something happening, especially in the summer months.
And there's interesting people living there. I think that's the key, because many times I thought, if I wanted to live somewhere else on the island, you'd want to go down to the plaza, have your coffee, and bump into somebody that you're going to have an interesting conversation with, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Does that happen you in Alaró?
Yeah, all the time. And I think actually that's probably one of the things that surprised us the most, of how quickly we all managed to sort of integrate and meet people, not just international people, but our neighbours are very friendly. We have, as me with my terrible Spanish, have kind of limited conversations, but still conversations with the locals of all age groups. Love the fact that it's the older generations who always stop and talk to our kids.
And the town hall, I heard this from somebody else who lives in Alaró. He was saying like Christmas and Easter and different times of year, the town hall organised that the kids in the village get gifts delivered.
Oh, yeah. Do they not do that anywhere else?
No, I've never heard this.
Oh, the Three Kings is so funny, really. I mean, that's on the 6th of January. So we've had our Christmas, because we're traditional sort of Northern Europeans who do it on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And then on the 6th, it's the Three Kings. So all the kids congregate in the square. And then you hear the beepers, because they drive through in jeeps, open-top jeeps, the Three Kings dressed up, throwing sweets into the square. So all the kids are going mad, and they've got firecrackers, and there's a great big party, and they do carols. And then everybody goes back to their homes, and they wait for the Three Kings to arrive and bring the presents.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're really happy from it's a great place to raise kids by the
sound. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And that, I guess maybe later in the conversation we'll cover the reasons why and why not to make a choice to move to Mallorca. But one of the main things for us was firstly to be closer to our families, but then it was to raise the children. Yeah. Like, you don't move to Mallorca to get the best education for your kids, and I don't think you move to Mallorca to set up your ideal business and move your business up the ladder. You move here for other reasons, and they're around. I think they're life-based decisions, and we're very happy that the kids have got a very nice level of education. They're so happy in their school.
They're in the Montessori school, right?
Exactly.
And that was again a choice by yourselves to go more for that. Because you have other options on the island if you want to go more academic or more even sport, higher level of sports education and stuff. So you've decided the Montessori route.
Winnie, who's our youngest, she was in a Montessori school or Montessori kindergarten in New Zealand. Bo wasn't. Winnie managed to get a place in the Montessori very quickly, but we couldn't find anywhere for Bo because all of the schools were at capacity. We checked all of them. So it was actually, we moved here in the June, very early June, right into the heat wave. And we weren't offered a place for Bo anywhere until late July. And that just happened to be at the Montessori, which was fantastic because Winnie was going there and it's a very easy commute for us from home. It's only 10 minutes.
Yeah, because the Montessori school is in Santa Maria, which is the village next door to Alaro.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's a beautiful little school. We're super happy with it, and the kids are very happy.
How many students do they have there?
Oh, now you're testing my parental knowledge. I think maybe 120.
Yeah, I know. I'm just
like
wondering
if
it, how, because
no, it's small. Well, they do their music lessons in the windmill.
Okay,
this is very
beautiful.
cute. Yeah.
So
nice.
The kids are there. They're happy. You're happy with the education. And how can they go all the way through?
They can go through to 16 if they want. Yeah. And I mean, there are, like you mentioned, there are lots of other different schools around, and there are a lot around the central of the island. Obviously, lots more in Palma and Manacor, dotted all over the place. And we visited quite a few of those, possibly for later education or before. Well, as soon as we got here, we were looking at the different schools. But there's a lot of demand, so there's a wait list. A couple of the schools were, we could probably take him in 4 years.
Wow.
Well, we're not going to homeschool him for that long, so we need to find somewhere.
Yeah.
And of course, there's the local school. He could have gone into the local school, and I think there would have been a lot of benefits if they'd both gone into the local school, because I think they would have learnt their Catalan and their Spanish very quickly. We've known other kids, international kids, who've done the same, and now they get on great, especially with the kids when we go out every weekend into the square. They know everybody. And also that, looking back, I think that might have been quite good way for Amy and I to have improved our Spanish and Catalan and integrate more into the local community. But that was actually the thing that kind of put us off in a way, because we thought, well, if you're being educated in Catalan and you're coming home with Catalan homework, we have no chance in helping you. And we thought we're going to have so much other stuff to do within the first months.
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to focus on that so much. And also because we'd moved from New Zealand, and it was a huge move for us. And, the kids had just started school there. It was going to be a big move for them. We wanted to make it easy for them to just be happy. So we thought the Montessori was a fantastic
And in the
place
Montessori school, English is the primary language. And do they follow, well, is it a curriculum? It's a Montessori...
Yeah, but they follow the British curriculum.
Okay.
So, I mean, it is fundamentally Montessori school. They follow all the Montessori principles, but it's also following the British curriculum. So it's, they're tested and all the rest of it.
Okay.
But
you're happy and you're...
Yeah, super happy.
Super. That's really great.
I would love to ask you to do a favor for me. Mallorca Living is a video podcast dedicated to those who are dreaming of making a life for themselves here on Mallorca. This is a very personal project for me, where I get to share with you wonderful stories about people who have actually made the transition to Mallorca. I would love to ask you to subscribe to this channel, because it helps the channel grow and it makes sure that we continue to grow and prosper and reach as many people as possible who are interested in making Mallorca their home. Thank you so much for subscribing and liking and sharing your comments. We love to hear your thoughts and your feedback. Thank you so much.
So I want to talk to you now about the business side, because you, as an artist, it's always a pressure, right? You're providing for your family, you're growing your reputation as an artist.
Yeah.
And how has that been for you since you moved to Mallorca?
It's pretty much what I expected.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, it might have taken a bit longer. Finding a studio has been really difficult with lots of pitfalls. I don't know, to be honest.
Was it the just finding the right location or the right facility?
No, I mean, I looked everywhere and I looked at everything, but either there's very little available in the terms, because I needed a big studio space. My studio space in New Zealand was sort of 500 square meters.
Wow. Oh, well,
it's got 3-phase power. I've got all my machinery. So when we used a property finder to help us initially, before we moved here, to try and find somewhere. And that was actually one of the things we'd heard about Alaró, was that it had got this incredible history of being one of the sort of shoemaking centres of the island. And we were told that there were all these empty shoe warehouses. Yeah. This is brilliant. Can't find any of them. No. And that, the access isn't good, or they're 3-story buildings, which is no good for me. It needs to be one level. So,
but you have quite a specific
exactly. My criteria is quite specific, and
500 square meters is pretty big.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, I mean
that
was a lot of space.
Yeah.
So now I have 2 spaces. One in Santa Maria town, which is more of a sort of storage space and where I do my clean work, and then I have one in the Poligono, which is just outside the industrial area.
Right.
Which I kind of vowed that I would never do again because I spent so much of my career in industrial estates.
Right.
And they're pretty soulless kind of places. I didn't really just want.
It's not where you want to be and spend your time.
No, it's not that creative, but actually they're very practical.
Yeah.
You know, if you need somebody with a forklift, you can go 2 doors down and somebody's got a forklift, and they're very well set up here. They've got the cafes and the bars and the restaurants. We've even got a little supermarket on our Poligono.
So from a practical perspective, and what you're doing, you're obviously creating really large pieces then, if you're...
Yeah, not to the same degree that I was in New Zealand, where I had assistants there helping me. So my practice is much more limited here, because it's pretty much just me, and then sometimes Amy comes in and helps me, which is great. But it's changed my practice definitely, and changed my focus. So I guess I'm a bit more choosy about what it is that I do, whereas in New Zealand I feel because I had the facilities and I had the help, I was able to do a lot more, a lot quicker, and test and play. But now I have to sort of change my practice and be more specific.
What are you more focused on? Because you have quite a repertoire. What area?
Honestly, it changes a lot. I mean, I suppose most people know me for my infinity works. And I think if people start collecting, they usually start with an infinity work and then they go on and collect something else. So I still do those because I can do those entirely by myself. Okay. I didn't used to in New Zealand. I would have assistants help me because it just meant that we could produce more and they could do all of the more laborious bits. So you designed it
and then somebody else
I would design it, I'd help doing the paint filling, and then it was always me that did the assembly, but they would help me do the other stuff. Whereas now I'm building the packing crates, I'm doing the carpentry, I'm doing everything.
You need some help by the sound.
Yeah, exactly. Of it, huh? Yeah. But now I find that I'm doing a lot more online, actually. I'm managing sort of more of my projects that happen offshore.
Okay.
Which I still did in New Zealand, but now I'm sort of, I don't know, I guess I'm concentrating my energy more on doing those kind of things, which free me up because I can do that in the evenings and I can do that.
And is that working with foundries in other places? Yeah,
foundries, fabricators, some still based in New Zealand, and commissioned works, like large sculptural works and things like that, as well as the infinities. And then I also do paintings. So I hadn't painted for, I'd say 15 years, but now, because I'm more limited in what I can physically do by myself, I find that I'm going back to doing some more of the traditional stuff. So,
and are you enjoying that?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, maybe it's a bit of that kind of New Zealand philosophy, you know, the can-do attitude. You just have to adapt and do things that you can do by yourself.
Yeah, so for each piece, do you, like when you're working on it, is that the goal? Like that's kind of the sense of fulfillment you get? Or are you drawn more to this type or that type, depending on your mood and what you feel like creating?
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot. Obviously, a lot depends on your mood and what it is that you feel like doing. When it's hot like this, I definitely don't feel like standing over machinery and cutting huge pieces of wood because the sweat's just pouring off you because you're in a huge warehouse, so it can't be air conditioned, so it's unbelievably hot. So you want to kind of retreat a little bit into the dark, or because of my other studio is actually quite dark where I assemble the light works. It has to be dark, but it can also be cool and the work is much slower. So it's, I guess I pick my work for the seasons.
Yeah. Okay. And then obviously it depends on your commissions as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I did read when I was doing my research, you have some amazing patrons, I would say, or people who are big fans of your work, right?
Yeah.
And quite famous people.
Yeah.
So how did you manage to connect with?
Well, a lot of that was going back to the film industry. So I guess you're referring to people like Ian McKellen, who was Gandalf in Lord of the Rings and then the Hobbit. So I met him when he first came over to New Zealand and was doing a tour around the studio where I was working. And I had a lot of my pieces in my studio space in the film studio at Weta Workshop. And he connected with them, and I was able to talk to him. He bought a couple of pieces. And then years later, when I was back in London and I went to install one of his works, we sort of had this conversation. He lives right on the River Thames in an old 1800s warehouse space, which obviously he's had converted. And he told me that he'd just bought the place next door, which was this beautiful big old kind of 4-story warehouse space. And he offered it to me for an exhibition. So that was in 2016, actually, when I had my exhibition in the October. So I went back to New Zealand, generated all this work, shipped it to his house. He invited all of his guest list.
Wow.
Which was,
that is such an opportunity.
Yeah, it was,
wow.
Such a good,
it's incredible.
Such a good night, actually. And we stayed there. We were there for 10 days.
Super.
Yeah,
because
cool.
I mean, it's quite, as an artist, to have that network of people collecting your work is really something. Commissioning new pieces.
Yeah, and I was, the first solo exhibition that I did, which was in New Zealand, was actually backed by Westpac Bank. So one of the biggest banks over there. Right. They were the former sponsors of New Zealand Fashion Week and the Red Collection. Right. And they would use that event as a way of hosting their sort of top tier business clients, having a cultural evening. And I don't know why they dropped the sponsorship of Fashion Week, but they were looking for something else. And we just happened to come along and give them a presentation and said, well, maybe we could host an art exhibition. So that was the first thing we ever did, was we took over the top floor of their headquarters in Auckland. We basically redressed the whole place as an art gallery, and I had an exhibition there. And of course, that allowed me access to their clients. And that was the first thing that I'd ever done in terms of showing my work. So it was a great opportunity to be able to sort of access that level of collectorship right off the go.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So how has it been here in Mallorca for your, because one of the reasons you moved here was to have more presence, let's call it, in the European market, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And actually, just before we talk about that, interestingly enough, your sales quadrupled during the pandemic.
Yeah, there was a spike, certainly. And again, it was funny because that was at the time when my career, my own art practice really felt like it was just starting to take off. And then COVID happened, and I remember having conversations with Amy saying, this is going to kill us, because obviously that was the great fear, that businesses were going to die. And many did. So, it's a double-edged sword. But for me and for I know the Ferrari garage in Auckland, they did 60% more the first year during COVID than they normally did. People were just buying things rather than experiences because they couldn't go on holiday, they couldn't go on their cruise, so people were refitting kitchens and they were buying art, we found. So that first year and the second year dropped a little bit, but it was still really, really good as we found people were...
And did you have people from all over the world, or just mainly in...
Mostly in New Zealand.
Yeah,
mostly in New Zealand.
Okay.
And of course, we were still allowed to go to work, so I was able to travel to the studio, so it didn't really affect me in that way.
You were still producing.
And I wasn't buying that many materials from overseas, so yeah, I had everything. It was kind of like a little captive audience for a short period, so it was great.
So you moved to Mallorca. What's happened with your work since then?
The economy in New Zealand is struggling, so I still sell in New Zealand, but not at the same rate. Weirdly, last year I had a lot of sales and commissions in Australia. Which
you had a presence in Australia when you were in New Zealand?
During COVID, I opened a gallery in Sydney, which it looked like it was going to be great timing, and then it turned out to be terrible timing, because just as we opened, Sydney went into almost full lockdown. The weather was atrocious. So for 9 months, we hardly had anybody even walk into the gallery. So it was kind of a disaster in that respect. It was only a pop-up, so we were able to bring all of that work actually back to here to Mallorca. And then obviously I've been able to exhibit some of that with Gallery Red, but for whatever reason, a lot of that work has now gone back to Sydney, or I don't know, for some reason, I don't know, maybe it's the algorithms on Instagram, maybe I'm big in Sydney or something. I don't know, but yeah, sales in Sydney last year were really good. And then also in London, the London gallery, since I've had a presence in Europe, sales in London seem to be doing well. But
Great.
Yeah.
And the exhibitions, have you done any major exhibitions?
Yeah, I had a big solo show in London. I guess that was last summer. Yeah, last September. I had a big solo show with Gallery Red here. I think it was the first year that I was here, which was great. That was to coincide with the Night of Art that they do in September, which is great, which draws so many people.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So the market
and I have to say,
lovely.
Mallorca is a bit of a melting pot, isn't it? Because you can get in connection with people here who have second homes or are here on a yacht or visiting. And we do have a really good clientele. And I guess Gallery Red are able to attract these kind of...
Yeah, they've got a fantastic client base and they host incredible events. So they bring those people in because, of course, I guess... the problem or the situation is that the people with the second homes come here to be in their second homes or be on the boats. So trying to draw them into Palma for the Nights of Art and the events, you have to have a draw, which is why they host the events, which is great. But then also, people buying homes here need to fill their homes with new art, and very often they go somewhere like Gallery Red or Gerhard Brown or one of the many other galleries, and everything is there, everything's on hand. So that was a real surprise to me, that the art market here is so vibrant and there are so many other artists doing things, and actually there's a great support network, which was one of the things I think that I feared the most leaving New Zealand, where I knew everybody that I needed to know to have a very effective practice. I could get anything done within a couple of phone calls. Oh, he knows so-and-so, he can help you do this component, we can make the packing crate, we can do the shipping. And I thought, well, how's that going to work on an island in Spain where I don't speak the language? But actually that has been much easier than I thought it would be, because looking at it, I realized that a lot of the support industries that I use for my art practice are also used by the yachting industries.
Okay.
So in terms of logistics, you've got your pick. Yes, it's a little bit more difficult, but it's all there. And then all of the other support networks, metal fabricators, woodworkers, everything's here on the island. Professional spray painters, all the things that I thought that I wouldn't be able to find, I'm finding that actually they're more accessible than I first thought. So
that's really, really great.
Yeah.
Is the language a barrier for you?
It's not a barrier, it's a hurdle.
Yeah.
And the longer I'm here, the easier I'm finding it.
You're building your vocabulary around it.
Yeah, and I think my confidence as well. I'm able to understand it a lot more, even a bit more Catalan now. And I think that when it's something specific that you have to talk about, so you're interested and you vaguely understand what the conversation is about, everything's just easier to understand as a whole. But
you have had some challenges around the business side.
Yeah.
And I would love you to share those challenges with us.
It's mostly the bureaucracy. Everybody knows that Spanish and Italian bureaucracy are up there in terms of difficulty levels. And I didn't think I was under any illusion moving here, but it turned out Amy was keeping a lot from me. I think she didn't tell me. She knew probably more than she was letting on. And we found that when we got here, I would say the first 12 months, it honestly felt like there wasn't a day that went by that we didn't have to go to some council office to get another wax seal on something. And it was kind of comical to start with.
And it was going from the lawyer to the bank, to the tax office, to this one and that.
And every time you have to pay something, usually in cash, and you think, how does this work? This is supposed to be official, but it's always in cash. And it's only
on certain days of the week and through a certain bank account and so on. People don't believe it until you've lived through it.
No,
right?
I didn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. I think I was like an ostrich with my head in the sand. But it is that bad, unfortunately.
And believe me, it's improved a lot in the 26 years I've been here.
Exactly,
you're even seeing a more modern version.
And then a lot of the time you go to the town hall because you want to repaint your shutters on the front of your house, and you have to fill in the form in Catalan, and then you have to pay some tax. And you just think, why? Okay, so I've learned to just be a lot more kind of relaxed and realize that the things I thought might take a week take a month, and anything that's supposed to take a month anywhere else in the world usually takes 12 months to a year and a half. And that's no joke.
Yeah, but I think if you want to live here, you have to get into the rhythm of how things go, because otherwise you go crazy, right?
Yeah, totally. And I do regularly.
Oh, do you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You seem like a calm kind of guy.
No, I'm not. I'm like a swan with my legs going like this underwater.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, Amy jokes. She says, Alaró is supposed to be, like your magazine, the art of slow living.
Yeah,
she said, you are the least slow living person in the world. And it's taken a while to kind of just learn, just to be relaxed, just let it go. Yeah, it's going to take more time.
But there's no point, because there's certain things you can control.
No.
And you can do something about it. But a lot of things here are sort of beyond your control and even beyond your understanding, to be honest, your logic. So you just kind of got to go with it, or you find another place to live.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, well, we know a lot of other Northern Europeans and Germans.
Yeah, my husband's German. He was going crazy when he moved.
Yeah, because, stereotypical, Germans are very efficient. Things are done like this, then things are done like that. And here it's total opposite.
Yeah.
So if you're kind of constantly like this, I think that's going to take its toll on you. And we've seen people leave because of that, even in the short period that we've been here. Yeah. But instead, you just have to kind of go, okay.
Yeah.
I'll just take.
But business is difficult, right? Would you agree with that? It's difficult to establish your business here. And you were comparing it to what you've experienced in New Zealand, for example.
New Zealand, I always joked that New Zealand was so easy. Everything was easy. Like when I moved to New Zealand, I was able to walk into the bank literally on day 2 and open a bank account with the manager who made me a cup of tea.
Yeah.
And I mean, you couldn't do that in the UK. You couldn't do that in the UK when I left. You definitely couldn't do that in the UK now. And that was my sort of metaphor for New Zealand. Everything was that easy and straightforward. And you think, oh, yeah, things can be that easy, and they can be that supportive of entrepreneurial businesses. People just want to make their way. There are so many startups in New Zealand. And then you come somewhere like this, and it feels honestly like it's the opposite. It feels like they put roadblocks everywhere they can to stop you from doing business. And the tax situation is very difficult. It's not encouraging for anybody to earn over a certain amount, because then you just think, well, now I'm just working for the government, and nobody wants to do that. I mean, of course, everybody has to pay the tax, and what makes the society function properly. But I don't understand why it is so much tax and it's very difficult to understand and do your tax returns. That's the most off-putting thing. And
you need a really good tax advisor.
Yeah, that was one of the first things we were told, and it was one of the first things we did. You need a good lawyer and you need a good tax advisor.
And have you found those?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there are plenty of them. We were recommended a couple, and we went with them, and they're very good.
My husband always said, find a lawyer next door, because you're going to spend a lot of time chasing them.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Said, better you're close by, and then you can.
Yeah. Again, I don't think I ever used a lawyer. Maybe for like half an hour when we bought properties in New Zealand, you'd sign a piece of paper, you'd pay virtually nothing, and you'd buy a house. Here, especially that first year doing property purchasing, was like, how many emails? And you just lose count after a while. But
no, the system it definitely challenges you on all fronts, and I can say that having had a business here for 22 years, it's kind of I literally put my head down and I get on with it. I try not, I don't ask for anything, and therefore kind of pay what you need to pay and get on with your life.
And I think that's a great philosophy. It's the only way to do it. Like we were saying, there's no point in fighting it.
No.
You just have to accept it, do it, forget about it, try not to talk about it in social situations, because we found that a lot in the first year. I mean, here we are talking about it, but I guess we're doing this to highlight the pitfalls of moving here, as well as, the benefits. But we definitely found there were a lot of conversations amongst expats about the difficulties, the bureaucratic difficulties, the tax difficulties. And you think, okay, I'm hearing you, but at some level, I don't want to talk about that anymore, because that's not why we lived here. Yes, there are issues, but just leave them. just go, yeah, okay, just pay, just keep paying, and then just get on and enjoy what the island has to offer, which is, you know, it's
I always say, Max, that, you know, if I had my business, let's call it, you know, in London or in a big city, I would have earned an awful lot more. I would have gained a lot more financially, but I probably wouldn't have had the same richness of life that I've enjoyed for the last number of years. So I do think it's this kind of balance. It really depends on what you're looking for. As you say, you don't choose to live in Mallorca because of the financial reward or the potential, whatever. It's more for the quality of life for you and your family.
Yeah, and I think if you're the kind of person who measures their happiness based on what they've got in the bank account or how successful their business is or which school their kids are going to, don't move here, because that's, you know, all of those things will suffer. You'll have less money in the bank and all the rest of it. But on the other hand, you'll have this amazing sort of, well, for us, this cultural experience. We've got a vibrant little community. The kids are so happy. I have way more time in my life with the kids and to live and do the things that I enjoy than I did in New Zealand even. I mean, New Zealand was an incredible place to live too. But it takes time. And I think if I was talking to somebody else who was considering moving here, that would probably be my main piece of advice, would just be to try and understand that everything takes a lot longer to settle, to do the things that you might do on a daily basis in any other Northern European country. It takes longer here. So you have to, firstly, you need, I think, a bit of a financial buffer in order to move here, because you can't get straight into your way of life that you might, you know, people have this idea that they're going to move to Mallorca and it's all going to be like this and very dreamy, but you have to work and you have to find a business and you have to be able to do that here on the island, but that takes time. So
and more challenging than it will be in your home country, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because the language and the bureaucracy and everything is much more complicated.
Exactly, yeah. But it's all, you know, there's a support network there to help you get through those hurdles, because, you know, we're not the first expats to move here.
Yeah.
And, you know, other businesses have grown up around, oh, well, like with us, we used Mallorca Solutions to help us do some of the paperwork that, you know, paperwork like this. And Amy was very good at that, but there are those kind of businesses that can help you do all of those things. Even when it comes to, you know, like taking your car for an MOT or an ITV, as it's known here, there are people that can help you do that, because otherwise that can be a nightmare.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So it's like reaching out and looking for recommendations and talking to people and finding out how you can make your life easier with the challenges that exist.
Yeah. And I mean, it goes without saying that you will make a lot of mistakes in the first year, 2 years, 3 years. You'll call the wrong plumber, you'll get ripped off, you'll find a dodgy lawyer who rips you off and you pay too much for this or pay too much for that. But it's all part of the experience.
Part of the learning.
Yeah. Within 12 months, we found that we were just kind of, okay, well, we know where to go for this, we know who to ask for that. And it's, you know, just be open and communicative. And,
do you see yourself staying here long term?
Yeah, I'd like to. Yeah. So, I mean, certainly that was the plan. I never want to move my studio anywhere ever again. I mean, that was the worst.
The idea now with the land you've purchased in Orient, is this kind of your future project?
Yeah. I think that's probably beyond even my future project, to be perfectly honest. So that was quite funny, actually, buying that piece of land, because weirdly, I'd seen that online in New Zealand when I was just searching. I just saw this picture of ancient olive trees with this beautiful little, I mean, it's barely even a village, there are 34 inhabitants in Orient.
There's 37 now, I heard.
Actually,
we did our last business lunch there.
Okay.
And I think they got 3 more.
Maybe they weren't counting me and my children, because there would have been 4 more, but anyway.
But it's crazy, isn't it, that a village has less than 40 people?
I don't know, it's magical.
Oh, it's just
so
magical.
I'd seen this online, had no idea where this place was. I just saw this beautiful picture, and I said to Amy, hey, where's this? Said, rule it out. It's in the middle of nowhere.
It's literally at the back of Alaro, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's up the mountain.
Everybody says, oh yeah, but it's a nightmare to get to. It's like,
it is a bit challenging.
It's like this. There are no speed bumps, there are no traffic jams, there are no
I
cameras.
do it on my
it's
bike.
Easy. Yeah, exactly. You're a big cyclist.
Yeah.
Cyclists.
Yeah.
Who I have to go past up there every morning. But I was driving back from Sawyer to Alaro, which is kind of here, and I came up from Sawyer, went into Bunyola, and I saw the signpost for Alaro. And of course, I mean, I'd only been here 5 minutes and thought, I'll try this way. No, because there's a sign to Alaro, but it doesn't tell you that you have to go up and down a mountain. But we drove down into the valley of Orient, and it was the sort of perfect time of day. It was like 6 o'clock in the evening. The sunlight was absolutely beautiful, and my mouth was just open at how beautiful it was. And then I drove past the piece of land. And I stopped and I reversed and I think, that's the piece of land that's online for sale. And it took us, until last year. This time last year was when we finally had done all of the due diligence, because it took a long time to work out that, what you were allowed to build,
and the legalities and what was legal and who owned it. And
crazy.
Yeah,
crazy.
So sometimes it can take a long time to get what you want.
But we stuck at it, and now... Yeah, we've got this gorgeous piece of land with these 900-year-old olive trees on. It's really
Can you build something on it?
Yeah, well, the plans are in. We've been told by everybody we can build. So, hopefully that information is correct.
That's amazing.
So maybe in 12, 18 months, we'll get the permission and we can go ahead and build.
And you think you'll move your primary residence?
Well, we'll have a house and my studio will be there as well. So, I can be painting in the Tramuntanas.
Fantastic. That's amazing. That's a dream.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
That's
totally. Because we bought somewhere before that in Santa Maria to build as my studio. But the planning permission took way longer than we were told we should expect. And during that time, I was just, I don't think this isn't right. This isn't what we moved to Mallorca for, to be in the middle of a town. So we sold it. And then the search continued, and then we ended up with a piece of land. So.
Well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
That sounds like a really great project.
Yeah.
So before we finish, I always like to ask a few quick fire questions. Here we go. So your preference, beach or mountain?
Mountain, I think now. Yeah.
Mountain. Well, obviously, if you've chosen Orient for your future home, sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
Sunrise. Yeah. Summer heat or winter calm?
Well, here, winter calm. Definitely.
Because now that we're really in the heat, everybody is opting for the winter calm. Yeah. Siesta or fiesta?
Oh, I'd say fiesta. If you ask my wife, she'd probably say, no, he's wrong. Fiesta. Definitely fiesta for Amy.
So you're more...
Yeah.
You can have a bit of
I go home early.
Okay. Pamboli or Ensamada?
Ensamada.
Ensamada. And North Coast or South Coast?
North Coast for us.
North Coast. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Max, thank you so much for being here. It's been really enjoyable to talk to you and find out much more about your career and your move to Mallorca. And I think we shared a lot of really interesting insights with listeners, and hopefully they can benefit from that. And of course, if anybody is interested to see and hear more about your work, they can go online, and you have your website.
Yes, it's just maxpatte.com or through one of the galleries, Gallery Red.
And check it out because it's really, really fantastic. Continue your wonderful work, and I look forward to seeing you flourishing more in Mallorca. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Helen. Thank you.
If you're dreaming of making Mallorca your home, let me invite you to use our property buyers agency service. With our service and our help, we can guide you to the right location that fits with your lifestyle. We'll also help you find the perfect home that fits with your dream. Contact us today for an online consultation or book an appointment and come and see us in Palma. We would love to help you make your transition to Mallorca a reality.